It's like, I gotta see it. It's got to be worse than it even reads, and
It
it is.
is. It really is. This is one of those where the media really doesn't do it justice.
Oh yeah, it's out of context.
Oh yeah. I thought they took that one a little too far, in my opinion. To be honest with you. Good God. 97 years young, Dick Van Dyke today. How about that, huh?
But when did he retire? When he was 35.
That's true. And did he win as many Oscars as Meryl Streep? No. You suck!
No. By the way, it will be surgery for the T.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad. I mean, he's done it before. These guys are good at it, so all that stuff's good.
We gotta make. We don't know if the same surgeon still does the same thing at the same. So we have that's issue one, which I will be working on after we after we get done. If you hadn't retired at 35.
Like Joaquin Phoenix. He didn't win as many Oscars as Walter Brennan. You suck! Why do you suck? You're terrible. We talked with a guy on the wrestling podcast who was the personal assistant for The Rock for 2.5 years, back when The Rock was becoming The Rock, like 2004, 2005. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So does he agree with authority on all things Joe Rogan that The Rock is juicing? What is he, 50 now? 55?
Well, he didn't veer away from it. He said, the guy may be on the gas, he may not. I know he works out really hard. I mean, I think anybody with eyes has to agree. And again, it's like who cares? So is Mark Wahlberg. So is, Jason Statham. So was, Sylvester Stallone back in the day. And so was Arnold Schwarzenegger. So they're not in a competitive sport where they can hurt anybody. They just have to look good on a huge ass movie screen. Correct?
I guess you're on. I know what team you're on.
I'm just afraid the kids are going to get the wrong message.
All right.
I'm ready.
Here we go. It's another patented, unduplicable Brad and Britt cast. That's not an easy word to say.
No.
What I mean, Britt cast, not an easy word to say.
Oh, that's the one.
Yeah. Happy to be with you. I got a bunch of topics, and this was written 7 minutes ago.
Okay.
It went into my head. It's all I got. It's the best I can do on short notice here on a fairly fresh breaking story having to do with the arrest of Samuel Bankman-Fried.
Nice.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Where did all the crypto go? Long time scamming. Where did all the crypto go? Not long ago. Where did all the crypto go? Crooks and embezzlers, they sure know. When will they ever learn? When will we ever learn? It has to be a second verse or else it's
not.
Here we go. Where did all the money go? Long time scamming. Where did all the money go? A long time ago. Where did all the money go? Gone to crook Samuel Bankman-Fried. When will we ever learn? When will they ever learn? I didn't have enough time to keep going. I know you're disappointed. But now you see, for you youngsters who are writing parody songs,
yeah,
very important that you pick something that is somewhat familiar to people. And that's a fairly famous song, Kingston Trio.
Yeah, folkies.
Yeah, folk song there, good song.
So they nabbed the boy in the Bahamas. He was in the Bahamas when they grabbed him.
Yeah. He's such a puss. That's what's so annoying. This kid, if he would have gone to our camp, our camp,
Yeah.
Camp Roosevelt,
Yeah.
he would have had the shit beaten out of him. First of all, you can tell he would have been one of the worst athletes. Is there any question about? He looks like a little fucking doughboy, doesn't he?
Yeah. That's why he had to do this. I mean,
Oh
that's
my
why he had to
God.
commit fraud and rip people off and stuff because
Yeah.
he couldn't run very fast.
Yeah, and his old man and his old lady both. What are they? One's a law professor at Stanford, and the other one's some other. You know, what? They're taking their kid and just smacked him. He wasn't too old that they could have just taken him aside and smacked him, unless they were kind of in on it, because they've been advising him all the way through here. So, as always, these are never just one person. There are always other people involved. You can seldom do this kind of shit on your own, although maybe in his case, who knows? But what a mess! Just what a mess. And I didn't have enough time to read up on what the exact charges are, except for the fact of wire fraud, securities fraud, commodities fraud, money laundering. I think you can stop right. That'll get you a few years in the And by the way, the Bernie Madoff suite at Butner, I believe, has been held open for the next. When did Bernie Madoff die? About 5 years ago?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's coming to North Carolina. I bet you Sam Bankman-Fraud is going to be coming here.
When Bernie Madoff died, I understand they closed up that area. They've rehabbed it, brand new furniture, a big large screen flat TV, 78 inches.
It's a flat screen color television.
Yes, Brad. It is. Yes, it is. And he'll do quite well there. I'm sure. But I guess I'm this maudlin interest. I want to know how many people got hosed on this. Is it 10,000 people? Is it 100? How many people lost money?
That's quite a few,
and significant amounts of money. And it's not. I don't like it. Don't. And I even think we mentioned this a year ago or so. The jump the shark moment for crypto in public. Not only was it obviously all those commercials on the Super Bowl with celebrities enticing, idiots like us who watch the Super Bowl that we don't want to miss this train. You don't want to. Oh no! This is
so you're calling Larry David an idiot now?
Right.
I mean, he's on it's him and Matt Damon.
Well,
and all those guys.
He was making fun of it. Okay, I wouldn't.
Well, yeah, but he was getting paid by these people to make fun of it, and the joke was on him. So yeah, he's part of the problem.
But anyway, all of the I think it was when the biggest kahuna of them all in investing, and it starts with an F, Fidelity, said, you know what? We're going to make it so that people can have crypto in the 401k plans that we administer for companies. And they're the biggest one in the business. They do more of these around the country. When Fidelity said, I don't know the exact date that they made that announcement, that instead of just being in the garden variety investments that they offer a lot of stuff, they went crypto. I think that was the moment, because it was inappropriate before, during, and after their announcement to put that in
it's
something
so weird.
You just don't want to be fucking with that. I mean, you may as well say, what we're going to do. We're going to put roulette.
Roulette. Blackjack is in there for
put blackjack in. Blackjack's got better odds than crypto, by the way.
Much better. It's so out of character for Fidelity, which has always been a very cautious company.
And I don't believe the other big names followed them right away. And
which
that
is
was
weird.
Another clue of what a bad idea
it
was. That's
Fidelity,
my opinion. I have nothing to back that up, just my opinion.
So Fidelity, like when we were going through the worldwide financial crisis, the worst since the Depression in 2008, 2009, one of the names you never heard about was Fidelity, because they have prided themselves on not doing risky shit and doing unbelievable stuff like this.
Yeah. it was just so unnecessary.
Yeah.
It was so unnecessary. And my thought was, well, they must be doing it because they're either losing business to the possibility that other people might do it, or they want to be seen as the leader in the next big thing. They don't want to be the follower. They want to be the leader. But I just, that's just my,
When
my
my mother was retiring, they were trying to throw all this jazz about these annuities and shit at her and being a good Clark Howard listener. I was like, what? And specifically, we went with Fidelity. I was able to convince her to do the stuff with Fidelity, and it's been great.
I'm not blaming Fidelity for Sam Bankman-Fried. That's not. I'm just making the overall.
That's such bullshit that they would do that. Like exactly like you said, but the record shows that was a huge unforced error. But
I don't even know if at this moment what they were talking about then has happened. Okay. Jeez. Because very often when they announce these things, well, a year from now you'll be, I don't, but I just thought the very fact that the story surfaced in the way that it did was a bad indicator. Turns out it kind of was. All right. And we wish Sam Bankman all the best, right?
Thoughts and prayers. I mean, there's no question. I can't wait to see what he looks like.
A lot of good, productive years ahead of him. We'd hate to see him get about 45 years at Butner.
I think the boys said that behind the wall there at Butner, I think the inmates gave Madoff a lot of respect. So I'm sure that sort of respect is going to be transferred right over to Bankman Fraud.
See, that's what's that's funny. And I know you're right. I remember reading the stories because, I guess when Madoff got there, as a 70-year-old guy, he behaved himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he just shared whatever actual knowledge he had, which was actually a lot. And he did get. I'm not sure that that's going to translate over this time to this guy. I don't think so.
No, he's fucked. He's definitely.
He would be last pick every time at every game at camp. He would have.
A good Camp Roosevelt ass whooping could have solved all of this. Is that going to be
you know what his middle name would have been? Waffle Belly. Waffle Belly.
Because everybody had a nickname.
No, you get out the tennis racket, you put it on their stomach, and you take a brush. That's a fucking Waffle Belly. You know what that is.
What kind of code red fucking shit were you pulling over there at Camp Roosevelt? What kind of abusive bullshit were you?
Well, let's put it this way: you didn't bring a knife to a gunfight back then. That in America was great.
There's not many people that can survive a Jewish summer camp, pal. You got to just rock and roll with that.
You know it. All right, here you go. Who is America's new #1 comedian? Is it Elon Musk or Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Oh boy.
Why it is worse here than in Germany or Peru?
Jeez.
Invite Brett Kavanaugh to your Christmas party. He'll bring beer. He loves beer. It's three.
Let's start with thing worse here than Germany or Peru.
Yeah. Well, I really think that we've got a serious problem that I think is kind of evading more and more people's conscience and consciousness every day, which is that less than 2 years ago, there was an attempt to overthrow the United States government. There's no way to soft pedal that. There's no way to euphemize it. There's no way to deny it unless you're the Marjorie Taylor Greene, Steve Bannon, Donald Trump wing of the United States of America's populace, for whom lie after lie, day after day, the attempt to not just soft pedal, not just deny, but turn around the events of that day into blame, which apparently is going to be backed up by phony hearings here, starting probably in just a few weeks, right after the new year.
Yeah.
That the real issue, if anything, was Why did Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer allow this to happen?
Right.
Why didn't they get the security right to stop what we deny happened from happening? I mean, there's so many internal contradictions as to what we're about to hear as we continue to hear them day after day, month after month, these last few years, that it blows the mind. We know, and more and more evidence comes out, even in the last 24 hours. These new text messages, and apparently the focal point on a lot of the planning, in addition to obviously Trump, is Mark Meadows. Mm-hmm. We have several dozen, more than 20, I believe would be the way to term it, members of Congress back and forth with Mark Meadows. Say, you got to get this martial law thing in here. Very often spelled MARSHALL, martial law.
Like the amplifier.
Yeah. Like Marshall Dillon.
Marshall Mathers.
Like Marshall University.
Oh, King of the Marshals. You are King of the Marshals.
What's MARTIAL? Is that martial law? I think
yeah, martial, as in like guns, as in like, military.
And because there were stashes of weapons, I guess in Maryland and in Virginia, all around the district itself, the line that is being used over and over again by the liars and the deniers is, well, there were no weapons on January 6th, so how could it have been an insurrection? Britt, that's what they're doing.
That's just straight up gaslight. I mean, they confiscated many, many guns. That's such gaslight.
That doesn't matter, Britt. There were no guns.
There were none.
And that brings us to Marjorie Taylor Greene, who apparently is going to be right in there with Kevin McCarthy as the top member of the Republican House of Representatives. What a meteoric rise she's had. Just 2 terms. I guess just the force of her personality, the depth of her ideas, her ability to appeal across the country to so many people has rocketed her to the front line there. In other words, Kevin McCarthy is scared shitless of her because he's made a devil's bargain with her for her not to oppose him to be the leader. So here she is today as we speak, being Tuesday, using the classic Donald Trump technique when he's caught saying something so fucking stupid, so outrageous, so over the line, so ridiculous. What's his first out? I was joking, and you don't get the joke. Kidding. How many times have we heard that?
You liberals, you have no sense of humor. It's just a joke.
That's right. So here she is explaining to Steve Bannon that when she said over the weekend, fuck, if Bannon and I had been in charge, there would have been plenty of guns and we would have kicked some ass. And there would have been a real violent insurrection 10 times worse than the one that happened. And we, meaning they, would have won. And there would have been no peaceful transfer of power, which occurred by the skin of its teeth, as we all know. Steve Bannon and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let's see if we can roll that tape here.
And of course, the one and only MTG. By the way, you've been on the news a little bit lately. we're gonna get to all that.
Funny, isn't it?
The child of the Congress is with us, and I want to. You said it as a joke. You said right there. Give us the thing that they cut out that they won't play.
Yeah, it's a joke. Here's the joke, Steve. The joke is this: that the Democrats and the media have attacked us over and over, blamed you, blamed me, blamed everybody, blamed Trump, calling it an insurrection. But the reality is it wasn't an insurrection. People were not armed. If it had been a real insurrection, everyone would have been armed. And I was joking up there, and then the white...
Hang on. Was that a Nerf battle? Was that a pillow fight? Did I miss something there?
Yeah.
Was that just staged?
and I'm sorry, but I have to just say this. Steve Bannon, again, as the kids say, couldn't bust a grape in a food fight. Nobody believes that if he was up there, we would have won this thing. Fuck you. It's not a joke.
15 seconds to go. Here we go.
In the media, they lose their mind. You want to know why? They can't handle the truth. Because the truth about January 6th, the fact that all those Second Amendment supporters, all those gun owners were not armed.
I know, but hang on for 1 second.
Hang on, bitch.
There you go.
Hang on. You're talking too much, bitch. Hang on.
Yeah.
They're going to have this. I mean, they'll have some demonstrations and some ceremonies to commemorate the second anniversary of this in a few weeks. Let's see how the Republicans handle this in a few weeks. Let's see how that goes. I can't wait for their hilarious jokes.
Wait, they've got to get through the reading of the Constitution on the floor
Correct.
of the House of Representatives.
All of this, and again, you get a signal to noise ratio on this. This is all noise because the signal is they can't figure out who's going to be their speaker. Kevin McCarthy ain't got the votes, and they're not agreeing on it. He's got a real insurrection within his own party. So
Britt, it's not an insurrection. If it was an insurrection, okay, if it was an insurrection, Marjorie Taylor Greene would bring a gun and would kill anybody that opposed her.
That's the real
weapons, but they're not allowed to be weapons on the floor.
They can do all the subtext they want to. Joe Biden doesn't care about the border. This, that, blah, 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 blah. The price of eggs has gone up 6 times. They can't figure out what the fuck's going on within their own party. So let's just wait on that because that's going to be the real thing that's going to be going on for a while. They can do all this other mishigas, if I may. It's just horse shit, right?
I think you're right. We're really impatient to have these things play out. And here's why we're impatient, because we see two other countries, two other democracies under siege, inspired by the nonviolent, non-insurrection activities of January 6, 2021 in the United States. For some reason in Germany, they misinterpreted that. So did they also in Peru. The guy who was running the place, he thought he could dissolve the Congress there and stay in power. That didn't work, and they arrested his ass in about 2 seconds.
They hoisted his ass out, right? They got rid of him quick.
I'm good. Hey, I'm much better on the mute button now. Aren't
You
I?
are. You're quick on that thing.
I'm big on it.
Yeah. So the guy in Peru
that was over in less than a few hours in Peru,
Yeah.
and in Germany, which has arguably more experience in having democracy turned upside down and overthrown in favor of a dictator than we do. They're very sensitive to it, and rightfully so, because of the history of the country. So what did they do? They didn't just let this shit happen. They didn't let there be a physical attack on their parliament building. They didn't let that happen. They got out there and, they fanned out across the country, and lots of people were arrested. And when you hear about how deep it was in Germany, you go, wow, what was a member of the parliament? And it was some guy who thought he had a 700-year hereditary right to be the leader of Germany, all this kind of crazy stuff. And they were all planning it, and they had expertise. They had a State Department set up. They had a military wing all set up. And we're, yeah, but it was investigated undercover by the German government. They obviously had some informants and folks like that. And here in the United States, we're 2 years past that day. And so far, not one person truly responsible for the planning, for the ideas at the very top of our government. Remember, in Germany, it wasn't people inside the German government who were trying to, wasn't one party currently in Germany that did this. In the United States, we have one of our parties who, I don't care what they're saying, they're in on it.
Oh yeah.
They are either in on it, they approved of it, or they're so passive and afraid that too many people who are Republicans, you can take that from the smallest R to the capital R to any flavor you want, are not willing to condemn it. We've got a way bigger problem than Germany. Germany will, and they have been rooting this out. It looks like, they're not going to take 2 years to convict these people. They're not. It's not going to take them 2 years. And I'm not saying, well, we have civil liberties, we have rule of law. I know that shit, but if justice delayed is justice denied, it isn't just for black guys who spend 40 years in prison on a trumped up drug charge. That's bad enough. That's horrible.
That's what they've tried to talk about. They've tried to equate the people that have been in jail for January 6th to some of those civil rights people that were put in jail for long periods of time too. I saw that stupid Christina Bobb. She had an Instagram story and she's talking with some guy that's been behind the bars for 600 days or something because he was part of the stupidity on January the 6th. And he's the victim. He's allegedly the victim.
Yeah. And that's a different track to what I wanted to really make the point about, which is justice delayed is justice denied. And in the case of Donald Trump, that's his whole life. Justice is always delayed for Donald Trump, and it's denied for the victims of Donald Trump, which used to be just, the guy who put up wallboard at a building that he was associated with. He screwed those. Now justice is denied for the entire American experiment, which is, remember, it's an experiment, and experiments are ongoing. They're never finished. And
correct.
His goal is to derail it and own it.
Well, there's your white privilege right there, isn't it? There's your way. Donald Trump gets to run around and do whatever he wants to for a while, and maybe at some point in time we might snap the cuffs on him. Mark Meadows gets to run around. All these guys get to run. Andy Biggs, all these people that were talking this shit, they just get to hang out. They get to stay in office, get the sweet congressional gym to work out in, get the sweet congressional health care plan, and they just kind of walk around. They help fucking plan this thing. They help.
I wouldn't play the white privilege card.
I'll play the white privilege card all day long on this shit.
Well, and if you're saying if it was Barack Obama, he would have been arrested in 5 hours and put in jail for 40 years. I don't think. I think at this level, that's I think at all levels you want to go down.
I think it's absolutely the track you want to go down. If you're a black person in this country and you're looking at those guys walking around still as members of Congress, excusing this, minimizing it, and you see these stories, you're probably thinking there's a double standard. I would think you would probably see that as a double standard.
No, there is, except this is such a more precise and difficult issue than just that. Everybody can understand that we have 400 years of
not everybody understands that, Brett. Not everybody understands that.
This is not everybody white
issue. Not everybody understands that, Brad. Not everyone accepts that, Brad. You live in the world and you know that. You know that not everybody understands that, and they don't get the 400 years and the intrinsic part of it. They don't get that at all. We take for granted that certain places, like even employers and certain cities, have accepted that there is systemic racism, but some people don't accept that at all, Brad. Some people don't think that's a thing.
I understand that, but if you can't make that the linchpin of this story. This is not the biggest part of it, but it is. This is not a racial issue per se. But believe me, in Germany or in Peru or in other democracies, they're not looking at the United States and what we seem to be doing to ourselves as some kind of adjunct to white privilege. I don't think it has anything to do with it, Britt. It has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
I just don't think it's the same. I mean, this is apples and oranges here. And by the way, you can get sick on either one of them. You can. It's so entwined within this very government that you can't expect what was done in Germany to happen here. We have different laws. We have different rules. And in Germany, where they do have, and by the way, this group, these people in Germany, they weren't trying, or pronounced reason for doing it is not to restore the Hitler Third Reich. They want to go back to the early 1900s. They do. The early 1900s, I believe that was called the First Reich.
Mhm.
Okay. It's not a Nazi thing again per se, but in effect it is.
It kind of is, yeah.
It just is, and maybe they're doing that for PR purposes. But since the last time they overthrew democracy in Germany, we ended up with, the Nazis. I'm not quite sure you want to buy into that whole routine that they're trying to sell there. But I really hope over the next few weeks that things really continue to accelerate the way they have, and that this new prosecutor, Mr. Smith, who went to Washington, you see what I did there? That was a famous movie once, he really looks like he's kicking ass and taking some names here. And at least from my view, it looks way smarter now that he was appointed to this position. Because I haven't heard for 1 second in the last few weeks that he's a political hack, that he's some lefty who's going after. I haven't heard that for a second.
You're not watching the right channels.
Well, I understand that. I understand, but that's never going to get any traction. It just isn't. I mean, I believe this guy is hell. The fact that he subpoenaed Brad Raffensperger, not to grill Brad Raffensperger on blaming him for no, he wants all the physical evidence, the papers, the notes that were made, beyond just the famous phone call. And by the way, I hadn't heard the phone call for a couple of months where Trump asked for 11,780 votes, and I don't have the audio here, but when you listen to it, Trump says it this way. He goes, "I need 11,780 votes." And I said to Jay, I said, what was the reason for the pause there? Did he think it was going to be 11,780 pizzas? Loaves of bread? And I thought, well, no, he wanted to provide another example of his completely psychotic speech pattern that could be easily imitated by, is that Mr. Johnson on Saturday Night Live, who does him so perfectly now, because he's got those
perfect,
inexcusable, pointless, irritating, suspense-driven pauses for no reason. And that's another example. 11,780 votes. What was that?
I think that's his old mind. Joe Biden gets all this shit for his mind not working and being old and addle-brained. I think that's his aged mind trying to catch up with itself. I think that's what is happening there when Trump
knew why he was calling. He didn't have like 5 choices in front of him.
His mind can't catch up with itself.
Yeah.
Votes. It's stolen votes. And then he tells the guys, all I need is this 11,780 votes. Give me a break. Like, come on, can't you deliver this fucking election to me, you pussies? That happens at one point in time in that call. It's fantastic. It really is the stairway to heaven.
When we first found this out, it was so evident that the fact that he was asking for almost 12,000 non-existent votes, that was a tacit acknowledgement that he lost. So he does that, and then at the same time says that he won, and that apparently never sunk in to his supporters, that he would be that cynical, that full of knowledge of his own guilt. It never clicked in. Still doesn't, I don't think.
No.
Right? The exact number. He knew the exact number by which he lost.
That's right.
Wanted that exact number plus one for a margin there of 1. in order to be
And by the way,
declared.
that wouldn't have seemed very suspicious at all if all of a sudden the total is this, and then all of a sudden the total is, oh, you're losing by 1.
Oh, no.
So you just don't
You're not
understand.
thinking straight. He was thinking straight. Okay. There have been great football games won by 1 point. Basketball games
It's
won by
just so
1 point.
So what do we call that? We call that projection, because all you hear now from people, like people who used to be on the Brad and Britt show on WZTK at usawatchdog.com, is that in the middle of the night, all these votes started pouring in, and it just happened to be the margin that was needed. So here's the projection now. Why can't you guys in Georgia just give me what I need +1 so that I can win by a single? And Brad, now that you and I think about it, why didn't those nice people in Georgia do that? That seems like a very clear-cut case of, sure, we'll be able to go ahead and just cook the books and let you win by 1. Why wouldn't we do that? Nobody will figure that out.
Yeah, it's so hard. Why didn't everybody go along with him? You know what? That's the real issue, isn't it?
When you're presented with this course and go down this road and very easily go, well, that's the best offer I've heard.
Yeah. All right, let's invite Brett Kavanaugh to our Christmas party, Britt. Let's invite Brett Kavanaugh, can we?
Okay. I got one I'm going to tonight.
Oh, good. Yeah, I was at one over the weekend on Sunday afternoon, which, by the way, is a pretty good time for a Christmas party. Early, or Sunday into the middle of the day, and you're done at 3, 4 o'clock. It's pretty good. I like that. November 9th, that was a Friday night, Brett Kavanaugh attended a private holiday party in the home of Matt Schlapp, the CPAC chairman. Brett Kavanaugh's decision to attend, according to Lydia Wheeler in Bloomberg Law, raises questions about when a justice's personal relationships cross a line and become problematic. You think, Britt, do you remember ever in your life until now Supreme Court justices going out on the town, showing up at Studio 54, partying Christmas time with members of Congress or directly with people who would have business in front of the Supreme Court? I don't recall that. I recall these people as being very, very circumspect about the image that they projected. They didn't want to seem publicly in love or friendly with or around people like that. They wanted to be seen as arbiters of truth. They tried. They weren't perfect. They never were. But Brett Kavanaugh, no. Brett Kavanaugh, he likes beer. And if you have beer at your party, he's there. Who else was in attendance at this CPAC Christmas party? Your friend and mine, Duke's #1 graduate, Stephen Miller.
Oh, he's the best.
Stephen Miller was there. Wow. And by the way, Stephen Miller is part of a lawsuit that is being heard in front of the Supreme Court right now. Now.
The Stephen Miller Band with their big hit, Fly Like an Asshole.
Yeah.
Bunch of jerks.
Yeah.
I wonder if he got drunk and fell down. I don't think Kavanaugh, I think he's like he was a dry alcoholic, I think, there for a minute, but I think he's probably back on the sauce.
Now here's the problem, and I know that Brett Kavanaugh listens to the Brad and BBCast all the time, right? He's one of we know who's listening. He could easily be vote number five in Moore versus Harper, which is the famous Supreme Court case that was just argued last week about whether the legislatures in each state will reign supreme and will be able to set the rules and decide essentially who gets the electoral votes in the most extreme cases. And Brett Kavanaugh has expressed some skepticism of that idea. So if you add the 3 liberals plus John Roberts plus Brett Kavanaugh, you're already up to 5. You've already knocked down the case, and Amy Coney Barrett also expressed some skepticism over the independent legislative theory, which, by the way, is about as legitimate as the Brad Krantz pull an idea out of your ass and run with it theory, which I brought that to the Supreme Court and I lost in a 6-3 decision in 1987. Look it up. The
case of
legislative theory, also a pull out of your ass theory that, by the way, has been knocked down several times in the last 100 years. But that's not good enough for today's Republican Party. That doesn't mean anything. Precedent means nothing.
I think that thing first showed up in the Bush v. Gore stuff. That's when it was first pulled out of someone's ass.
I
22 years ago.
Early in the 20th century,
yeah.
That it started to be talked about, and then it went nowhere for good reason, because it was bullshit.
And then it came back up.
And then it got, George W. Bush, it helped him get elected.
In the case of ass versus cheek.
Yeah. And if I recall correctly, when that odious decision was put out there, it was made very, very clear that this was a one-off. This was not to be a precedent.
No, you're remembering exactly correctly. It was said this should not be applied to any other case. This bad decision that we're making to award George W. Bush the presidency cannot be applied to anything else ever for any reason. Amen.
Right. So we can't be too mean to Justice Kavanaugh, or he might just turn on us, because we're here in North Carolina talking about this, and he could punish us.
You think you think it's like when he was in the hearing? Do you think he starts getting drunk? He starts getting real weepy, starts thinking about his high school girlfriend and how he blew that whole situation, starts crying and shit like that.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to put you on alert here, because this year our Super Bowl wingding, which now is not that many weeks away.
8 weeks away, something like that, maybe something like that.
And it's at John the Catholic's this year.
Correct.
Book. And I have some leftover hard seltzers from Thanksgiving that I haven't drunk yet.
Man.
And it's a kind that I'd never seen it before. I'll bring it and show it to you.
What a treat.
Podcast. I'm just telling you, I'm going to bring some of those. Okay. I think we still have 5 or 6 left to go. I'm not, I never got a hard seltzer.
One last story for today. I know you've paid great attention to the story as a WWE shareholder, Brad. The Wall Street Journal with a piece today on Vincent Kennedy McMahon, who says he wants a comeback. He wants another shot. He was given bad advice when he walked away from World Wrestling Entertainment, and he wants to get back in the game.
Okay.
He's got a couple of problems, including one woman that he allegedly raped 30 years ago who has filed an $11.75 million lawsuit against him. Her name is Rita Chatterton.
Well, but Britt, once you become the president again, you're immune from all.
Is that what it is?
Lawsuits. That's what he's doing.
This is the way it works. Miss Chatterton has asserted this for a number of years, and there are some people who have said that circumstantially she was in the place and they saw them together where this allegedly happened. They saw the two of them. This is you ever heard of? Remember a guy named Greg the Hammer Valentine?
Sure.
Greg the Hammer Valentine wrestled in this area in the Carolinas for many years and wrestled.
Didn't he have white hair? Wasn't he?
He did. Very white hair.
Now I know that. Okay, anybody could have white. No,
this is the quote from John Wazinski, who has played the character of Greg Valentine. Listen to this very carefully in the Wall Street Journal. John Wazinski, who wrestled as Greg Valentine, told the Wall Street Journal that Miss Chatterton, that's the plaintiff, disclosed the allegations while the two were sharing a marijuana cigarette in a Marriott hotel parking lot in Albany, New York in the 1980s. Mr. Wazinski said he didn't believe Miss Chatterton then or now because he didn't think she was attractive enough for Mr. McMahon.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Yeah. See, Mr. Vince McMahon only rapes the hottest women. Remind me to put Greg Valentine on the stand as
like the E. Jean Carroll thing with Trump.
Remind me to put
type. Of course, he didn't assault her.
Look how ugly she is. Donald Trump only rapes the hottest women. Remind me to put Greg Valentine on the stand as a character witness anytime I'm in trouble.
So Vince McMahon thinks he's like Bob Iger, that the enterprise can't, but they're succeeding without him.
Well, they're having a pretty good year, as it turns out, without him.
And that's the point. I mean, Iger went back to Disney. Disney has been kind of floundering here.
Yeah.
Okay. But I didn't see the I didn't see the stock price of World Wrestling flutter or drop at all after
No.
Vince McMahon left. In fact,
No.
it's up in a bad year.
Yeah, it is.
So therefore, who's clamoring for that? What is he, 75?
Well, and again,
Is he
if you
juicing?
think,
Is he juicing?
I'm sure he's done
Okay.
more. He's stuck more than a few needles in his ass. You know, I made the comparison many years ago. You know, there was Al Davis, the Raiders head honcho for a number of years. Great football mind, tremendous. 1982 Al Davis was not the same as 2002 Al Davis. 2022 Vince McMahon, not quite the same as 1987 Vince McMahon. A few things changed, a few things got rearranged there.
Oh, bad day for WWE.
What? Oh no, that's sad.
Down 2%. Sorry. Shouldn't be checking stocks live while we're on.
Sell, Brad, sell, get out now.
All right. We will commence again the next day, tomorrow, whenever that is in your life, at this same place, the same time. We'll see you then.